Every episode of this podcast exists because a few folks decided it was worth supporting, not with just their ears and their attention, but with their actual hard earned cash. And that's very humbling. And I want to take a moment to thank the founding fathers of the Workshop Therapy podcast, the first five who got this show on the road and who earned their permanent thank you. Mr. Matthew from Argiano Serio, Brad of Brad's Customs, Keith of Blackthorn Concepts, Eric of Overall Maker Works, Brandon of Tectonic Creations. I'd really like to thank you. Your support really does mean more than you realize. You've helped keep the lights on, the mics running, and the message moving. I'm also especially honored to welcome the newest member of the podcast family, Mr. Dave Desjardins of What Dave's Doing. Probably messed up your name because I'm not very good at those French last names, Dave, but thank you for stepping in and saying, yeah, this is worth it. It's really easy to scroll past a lot of these, come support me on Patreon ads these days and choosing to actually stop and invest in something, especially, especially something that I'm a part of. It really is a big deal. It really says something about the importance of community, creativity, and mental health. So if you're listening and this show has helped you feel seen or sparked a thought or helped you feel a little less alone or given you a little bit of boost to do something a little bit better, please consider supporting on Patreon. If that's not in the cards right now, then that's okay. You can support the show by sharing it, sending it to a friend, post a clip, tell someone something about it that hit a chord for you. And that's how we grow, and that's how this work reaches people who really need it. So as always, if you've got a question or a story you want to share, send it to questions@workshoptherapy.com. I read them all, and that's not very hard because you guys don't send in very many. So I'd appreciate more. I mean, you can even jump onto ChatGPT and ask it to ask me a question, then we'll see. But anyway, read them all. Thanks for being here. Really, really appreciate it. And let's get on with the show. Welcome to the Workshop Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew, and joining me today is Mr. Bill Doran of Punished Props. Welcome to the
Hello.
show.
Happy to be here, Andrew. Happy to chat. For those who don't know, I run a little prop and costume making company up here in Seattle with my wife, and we teach people how to make their own costumes and props for cosplay and other fun shenanigans.
Make some pretty cool stuff. Like I haven't had
Thank
a
you.
whole lot of time to dig through all of your video
It's a
catalog,
lot.
but there's some there's some really it's amazing how you make some of that stuff because it's like from an outsider perspective, you look at it
Uh,
and you go, that looks real, and 90% of the time it's like 3D printing and
right. Or
foam
foam
floor
or,
mats.
yeah. It's really fun. So making replicas of stuff is crazy fun. Although as I get better and more equipped as a maker, my replicas are becoming more like a real thing, which is its own kind of satisfaction. But if you see our videos or if you could see my shop, I'm absolutely surrounded by all the stuff that we've made. Mostly things from video games. We draw a lot of inspiration from the games that we make. So we've got blasters and swords and daggers and Wolverine claws and helmets uh and yeah, we've been on like a 15-year journey learning how to make all this stuff and then turning around and everything we learn we share with our YouTube videos over on our YouTube channel. I think we have 700 or 800 videos over there. We put out a series of books on teaching people how to make costumes and props from foam. We have stayed quite busy these last decade and a half.
You're a costume cosplay media empire then.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just you and your wife? You don't have any employees on board, or
Right now, it's just the two of us. We've had people working for us in the past. During the pandemic, we ended up, I'm sure a lot of people did, we ended up downsizing a bit to make things work. So right now, it's the two of us who work out of our basement. We have a really cozy little shop down here, and we film our videos down here. We're working on a new book. Lots to stay busy.
so there's I guess maybe this is the first and most important question. Maybe not the most important. This is the first question that pops in my head though. Lots of people all over the creative world, whether it's woodworking, costume making, pottery, welding, whatever. They have this interest in something that they really want to do and they enjoy doing it. and they want to make the leap from working for somebody to working for themselves. And then on the other hand, they're involved with their significant other, and there seems like there's two categories of people. There's the people who want to go to work to get away from their significant other, and then there's the group of people who are focused on working together, and that's
Mhm.
their end goal. And obviously it seems like that's where you guys have ended up. How do you manage working with the person that you live with all the time?
Yeah. So, my wife Brittany and I have been best pals since college, but we also worked on group art projects together in college. When we were seniors, the two of us and two of our best friends produced a short film together, and it wasn't for we got credit for it, but it wasn't a class. We told our professor that we wanted to make a short film, and the four of us did it all on our own. And it's online. If you go to YouTube and look up Bill Duran Pirated, that's the name of our little pirate animation that we made in 2003. If you look that up, you'll find it. But
I'll link it in the show notes.
yeah, my friends and I, the four of us, did a we produced a short film together, and we worked together, and we worked together really well in school. And then after college, we all moved in together. And then after a couple of years, we all moved to Seattle together. So we're just this inseparable group of friends who have lived together, who have worked together. Any of the pitfalls of doing that, we ran into years ago. Not that there aren't new problems and challenges and relationship hurdles you have to figure out how to clear as life goes on. But a lot of the foundational stuff, we're best friends. And then we worked together at Microsoft for a number of years too. So, as far as like a working relationship with my now spouse, that was in the bag well before we started working together on our own thing, on our own company. The main thing was I started the prop company. I quit my job before Brittany did, and she was pursuing a career in the video game industry. She wanted to give that a shot. She worked for three different video game companies, worked on the biggest video game release in history. She was on the her and my other two pals from college. They were all on the Destiny release when that came out in 2016, I want to say. So she got to do all that, and then realized that she wanted to have more of an impact on the project she was working on. And boy, did she have a big impact working at Punish Props. Immediately doubled what we could do, and she popped over. We started producing like print books once she came on, and producing a lot more video, which was really amazing. So now some people might find this repulsive. Some people might think it's really great. My wife Brittany and I, we are hardly ever more than 10 feet away from each other. We work together, we exercise together, we live in the same house. So we're just around each other all the time.
That's the sign of a good marriage right there, actually living in the same house together.
Yeah.
Generally
Yeah.
generally when you're not, it's kind of a bad thing, but yeah, that's
Every hour of the
interesting.
day though, like we're best pals. We're partners in every way, and we found a way to make this that works for us.
I think when it comes to marriage, I think that's a really important thing because you see, my wife and I, we've been married for today's our anniversary.
Really? Wow,
Yeah, it is actually.
congratulations.
We've been married for 19 years today.
Right
I was
on.
thinking
Ooh,
I
big
was a
one
day
next
short in
year.
my head. Yeah, yeah, and but that was like we met each other in university, our first year of school, but then we were friends for close to 5 years before we even
Yeah.
started dating, and I think that's like that. You see a lot of relationships that are based on like, "Ooh, I like the look of you. Let's go hang out."
Mhm.
And then we get married, and then a couple years later, they discover that, "Wait a minute, you snore,
Right.
you brush your teeth funny, you" or whatever it is, right? Like, "You like pink underwear? I don't like pink underwear," and
Yeah, right.
suddenly things start to fall apart, whereas if you develop
Yeah.
that friendship first, I think that's kind of key, and then that's what like, my my wife came home not too long ago she was talking to one of her friends and about her friend had mentioned, "Oh, do you like teaching because now you don't have to spend every hour at home?" And, like, but that's why we got married, just to spend time with each
We
other,
like
not.
spending time around one another, yeah. Yeah, Brittany and I, the same. We were friends all through college. We started dating afterwards, but we were best pals for 4 years. Like, best friends and partners and creative partners, like, that's a big one. If you really wanna get to know someone, do a group art project with them. Do a group art project that takes months to finish. You'll get to know each other real well.
Yeah, that's well, that's the it's the same as renovating a house. I don't know if you've ever
Yeah.
renovated a house at all.
I've been I've demoed some houses. I've never done the building part.
Yeah, if you manage to renovate a house and you're still married at the end of it, you're solid.
Nice. That's a good benchmark. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway. So you said you've been doing the punish prop things. You have for 15 years now, right?
Yeah, so we got into it because of cosplay. We have friends who wanted to go to we have Emerald City Comic Con and PAX out here, these big conventions, these culture conventions. We have friends who wanted to go dressed up as something, and they got us into it. And it wasn't hard. We're the kind of people that lean into Halloween a little heavier than other people. So we dressed up as Team Fortress characters from the game Team Fortress in 2010 and went to PAX, and we were hooked. We had a whole team of us, so we had 6 of us in uniform, and we were a hit. We made all our costumes. We were like it was we were in the dining room, like, sawing wood and being very unsafe, but we were super hooked, and after that point, we were like, "Well, what other events can we go to where they'll let us bring a costume we made and wear it?" There's a steampunk convention, there's an anime convention, there's Comic-Con, there's video game conventions. From that point forward, we were just looking for excuses to make costumes, dress up, and go out in public. We always had a group of friends to do it with, which made it very compelling and really, really fun. And it's wild to think that was 2010, and then 2 years later, 2 years later, I quit my job to do it for a living. But it was quite a couple of years there.
So when you made that jump, were you ready, like ready to have the full on business going, or was that like, hey, so I had this idea and you're working, maybe I could quit sort of situation?
Yeah, actually, so Brittany, we were both working at Microsoft, and she quit a year before I did to pursue a career in the video game industry. And she and I had been talking about wanting to do more prop stuff, and she was encouraging me. She said, "Well, you should quit." 'Cause she had a job, she had health insurance, we could give it a try. So that's what we did. She was always encouraging me to follow my dreams. So what happened was I started making props and costumes and posting them on the internet, and I also started making videos, which at the time very few people were doing, like prop and costume tutorial type videos. So there was this surge of interest in my work and people wanting me to make stuff for them. So in 2012, I started accepting, well, I still had a job, but I started accepting jobs from people on the internet. They wanted me to make a sword from an anime or whatever. So I started filling up this commission list, and I had like 6 months of commissions lined up. And I thought, give it a shot. The worst thing I have to do is come crawling back and ask for my job. But I was pretty good at it, and I'm sure they would have taken me back if I'd asked. But I never had to. What was it, like April of 20, what day is today? The 15th? Oh, tax day. I know what I'm doing later today. Pretty much, it was April 19th, I believe, 2012 when I quit. So almost 13 years ago. And that's what it was. I quit with 6 months of commissions lined up, and that was the plan. Just people would ask me to build a prop, I'd make it, sell it to them, collect the money, and move on. That is no longer the plan. It has changed dramatically in the last 13 years. But that's what I had to go on, and it was enough to get my toe in and start moving. And then, so I'm here because our friend Nicole Spagnuolo introduced us, and it wasn't soon after that that I got to know her and Mark. I believe it was BlizzCon 2013 when Nicole sat me down and helped me hash out a business plan. I still have the notebook with the page of all the information she gave me. It's basically a checklist. I just went down the checklist, and the more of the things on that list I did, the more my business just started working because Nicole is uh, brilliant and knows what she's talking about. And that was 2013, and things really just started to go crazy from there. Especially when we started making more and more videos. A lot of people will film when they make a prop, but when they go to edit all that footage, they realize it's an insane Herculean task. But I enjoy editing video, and I also have a background in video editing from high school, so I enjoyed it, and the video stuff really helped everything take off.
So what made you what's your business like now? You said it started off as commission, but it's gone
Yeah.
away from that. What do you do now? You said you're publishing some books about how to do stuff
Hmm.
and you're still doing a lot of how-to tutorials on YouTube. AdSense doesn't make enough money to do that alone.
No, it doesn't.
What's your full business then?
So, the videos we make, it's funny because most of our effort goes into the videos that we make, and the videos are free on YouTube. Anyone can watch them for free. But the videos are content marketing for the products that we have. So we have a Patreon and YouTube membership that helps support the videos that we make. And then on our website, we have our store and we sell things like our books, the Foamsmith trilogy. We have all in making props and costumes from foam. We have ebooks, we have print books. I also have some video courses, much like Mark and Nicole do courses for woodworking projects. We have a couple of courses, not project specific, but tool specific. So I have a video course on using Fusion 360 for 3D modeling and 3D printing. I have another one on Inkscape, which is a 2D vector drawing program for vinyl cutting and that sort of thing, pattern making. That and a handful of other digital products like 3D printing files and patterns so that people can follow along at home. But that makes up a lot of the pieces of our business. But it's all, we have products that people can pay for. We have products that are free, and the free products are designed to draw people into the paid products. And if enough people do that, then I get to keep making props in my basement.
So it's like, well, what's your breakdown of effort then? I'm just out of curiosity, if you don't mind sharing. Like
Yeah,
the thing that you want to do is make the prop, and
right.
there's obviously certain things that go into that that are, even if you were even if you weren't going to sell it, you still have to make, like the 3D printing file or
Yeah, yep,
whatever. And so you can sell those for no additional effort
right,
to
yeah.
what's already gone in. So what would be the breakdown of stuff that I do to get to the end goal of what I want
Mhm.
versus I have to do this then to, in addition to this, for income?
If I'm gonna put in the effort, so, uh, so normally what happens is I watch a movie or play a video game, and there's something in that, and I think, "Hmm, I want that." And then I usually do a Google search and see if anyone else has made it, and if they haven't, I go, "Ooh, this could be one for me." And then I'll decide, what do I wanna turn this, what do I want, but what can I turn it into? So if I decide it's gonna be a 3D printing project, that means I'll end up with, like you said, that 3D printing file I can then sell. If it's a foam project, I might make a 2D pattern that I sell or put up on our website. But a lot of it's driven by what do I want out of this? When I quit my job in 2012, I gave myself one rule. That rule was, if I'm not having fun at this, then I might as well go back to working in corporate America. So it's got to be fun for me. If it isn't fun for me, then I might as well go back to a steady paycheck. So I approach every project thinking, is this something I want? How am I going to make this that's satisfying to me? And then I think, how can I turn this into a product, right? Or it doesn't necessarily have to be a product, but it could be a turn it into a video that points people to one of our because I'm running this as a business, even when we're making stuff for free for people, a little bit of your mind is always going, all right, well, how do we remind people, use this as a reminder that we have a Patreon, or use this as a reminder to tell people, we've got a couple books out if this is interesting, or if you have a friend with a birthday coming up, this would be a great gift. So it's, I mean, artists since the beginning of time have been struggling with, how do I make genuine art, but then also make money at it? And it's compromises. There are dozens of little compromises that you make with every single project that you put out that YouTube commenters do not understand.
Yeah, but I wanted to watch the video about this, not an advertisement for
Yeah.
your book.
Yep. Or why didn't you just? That's my least favorite comment. It starts with, "Hey, why didn't you just X whatever?" Right?
Why didn't you just buy this? Or
Yeah. Why don't you just buy it?
it's
Why
not
don't
the
you just
point.
print it?
So then an important aspect then is not is to be thinking through the process before you start then,
Hmm.
rather than going, "Oh, I want to make this," and then make it and then retroactively spend the time to figure out how to turn it into something.
Right.
Think through your
Yeah.
process think you through your process and go, "Well, I can pull this aspect out and sell this,
Hmm.
or make a tutorial out of this aspect of it and then plan that out
Yeah.
rather than try to do it retrospectively then."
Exactly, which we're running into right now because every platform wants short form content. It wants a 1 minute clip of things. So moving forward, everything gets, while we're filming, we also grab shorts. But I also have 700 or 800 videos that we can go back and retroactively pull short content out of. And it is a lot easier to do that ahead of time than retroactively, for sure. But that's a part of the mix. That's a part of the mix when you're Like, I want to make art. The internet wants content, and I need to merge those things in a way that's satisfying to me, but also earns me a living.
So
So
just
if
looking at
anyone else has figured out how to do that, let me know.
so you mean you're not I don't know who like Mr. Beast with your own game show on Amazon Prime now and all of that
Not yet.
stuff? Or
No. No, and I don't know if I don't even know if I have that ambition. I really like making videos on YouTube.
yeah, that's I don't know. That's just it says something about the world now though that that's the case, you know.
Yeah. I read a quote from Carl Sagan from the '90s, from the book The Demon Haunted World, where he called it. He absolutely called YouTube Shorts 30 years ago.
Well, it's like it's a natural progression of a basic human psychology, right? Like you want to
Right.
have
Yeah.
that quick hit, and if it's not entertaining, then you move on to the next thing. I mean, that's why heroin is so addictive, right?
Yeah.
Is because it's but I was just looking at your background there. You have
Hmm.
700 videos, so you've made more than one prop.
Yes.
Then
And some props, some single props, I've made hundreds of.
do so so do you obviously not the hundreds of them. You probably don't have hundreds of the same thing around, but do you keep everything or do you pass it on, give it away, sell it?
It's everything we make will eventually be turned into some form of marketing material, so it sticks around if we can keep it. Early in my career, like I said, I did a lot of commissions, so those things were sold and those people have them now. And I'd like to have some of those back, right? There's some props that I made that I'm extremely proud of, and I have no idea where they are now. But for the most part, things stick around. I love having in my shop here everything around. It's this cacophony of stuff. A lot of it's things I've made, a lot of it's stuff friends have made, and every single piece here has a story, and I just love being surrounded by that. But then, like I said, if I need to, like if I did a video on Skyrim props, I still have all of my Skyrim props, so I can collect them all to make a nice thumbnail or any sort of marketing material. So it's both aesthetic and functional.
So what's your time breakdown then in the I'm collecting stuff to make marketing, I'm doing the digital sitting at the computer, crunch, crunch,
Hmm.
crunch, boring work stuff
Right.
versus I'm physically making something right now.
Right. Yeah. Fortunately, I do get to spend most of my working day in the studio making stuff. Sometimes that's 3D modeling that is sitting at the computer. 3D modeling for me, it feels the same as sitting at my workbench here. It's very deeply creative and very satisfying. So I get to spend a lot of time doing that. Brittany does most of our video editing. So she handles most of that. I do a little bit. And then a lot of the other clerical work, which I hate doing, but I have to do, is a little part of it. And things like product development. So for example, I'm writing a new book. That's another thing that I struggle to fit into the schedule, and I wish I had done more of, but that's what we're working on right now. But like I said, fortunately, I do actually get to spend most of my time making things, most of my working time making things, which is like I said, it has to be fun for me, or why am I doing it?
Yeah, there's two schools of thought on that. You know, like there's the people that I like making furniture, and I've made commission furniture for a few people, and I've shipped it. I've shipped all over the world, mostly to New York actually, but I've shipped to a few different countries across the world, and it's there's this thing about I love doing it, but when I'm doing something that somebody else wants me to do, I lose the joy in it, right? Like
Yeah.
if I have creative freedom over it, then it's much more enjoyable. How do you maintain that balance, right? Like
Mm,
I have to produce this for the content's sake versus I have to produce this for me to maintain it and keep it being fun. How do you keep
sure.
that going?
That's a constant experiment. I mean, this was years ago, but I remember we made something from Fortnite. There was some Fortnite Marvel crossover thing happening that I wasn't even slightly interested in, but we thought it would perform well. And I can't even watch that video. Like, just I wasn't into it. It wasn't a thing I was interested in. Also, the people watching weren't very interested in it. And early on in the career, when people were paying me to make stuff, I just made whatever they requested. But now, unless I'm being paid a good amount of money, I only make what I want to make. It's a pretty good system. Since we earn our living on the videos that we make, the thing that we're making specifically has less to do with it doesn't influence the income that much.
It's the fact that you're excited about the thing that you're making that's
Exactly.
selling the other stuff. It's not
That's right.
you're not
Yeah.
sitting there, "Oh, go buy the book, please. I need the book to
Yeah.
make this project."
Right. Or saying, well, what's a good example? White Lotus is hot right now. I have not watched any of White Lotus, but I know it's really hot right now. People are talking about it online. If I wanted to, I could make something from White Lotus, and then White Lotus people would be really excited about it. But I would be completely blind. I would have no inside jokes or knowledge of the show that I could include in my video. Whereas if I make something from what's something I watched recently? I watched the anime Free Red, which is really, really delightful. I know the show. I watched it, and in our video, we can include inside jokes. The prop that we make from the show, we could weave into the story a little bit more because we have that knowledge. And overall, I'll just be way more enthusiastic about the entire process if it's something that I'm into. So yeah, we're really fortunate we can be picky that way, as opposed to, like you were saying before, just trying to rely on AdSense from YouTube. That means your video has got to perform. It like just really has to, which means you have to make a lot of decisions and compromises about how you make that video. The kind of compromises that I don't want to make with my craft, my art, my videos. So I prefer the
Do
way
you
we do it.
watch have you ever watched Jazza on YouTube?
We are friends with Jazza. He is an
Are you?
awesome human. Yes, we've had done a couple of collaborations with him. This was years ago. But he's taken everything to the next level. He's got a whole studio with a bunch of employees.
So
Being
so here's my question for you then. Speaking of being hooked up with you from Nicole, my wife and I are huge fans of Jazza just because he is so engaging and so
yeah,
entertaining. Is there a hookup possibility if you're friends with him
but
to
Jazza,
get
I
him on
could,
the podcast?
yeah, I will totally reach out. I know, and he's been very open with this. There's things he's struggled, mental health things he's struggled with in the past, and I think he'd probably be pretty interested in sharing that.
Well, I'm that he's one of those people that well, so my wife is doing a master's in special education right now, right? And with an autism focus. I'm doing my master's in clinical psychology, and I don't even know how we started watching his videos. It wasn't
Hmm.
that long ago. Maybe like 9, 10 months ago, something like that. And and then he posted this video, "Hey guys, about having 88 being diagnosed with ADHD."
Yeah.
And my wife and I were both like, "How did you not know? How did you not know this? How is this a
Yeah.
surprise to you?" But that's somebody that I would love to be able to talk to, and especially
Hmm.
about, I mean, similar things to you.
Hmm.
But one of the things that I really enjoy watching with him is the fact that he has this excitement about what he's doing, and it doesn't matter what it is. Like
Exactly.
I'm never gonna make a huge model of the Settlers of Catan.
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
never like the last
Where
one
would you even
here.
put that?
Yeah, I'm never gonna do that, but just watching him do it and him being authentic about it and
Yeah.
excited, that's what engages me about it. Not so
Hmm.
much like there's so many people on YouTube now in my niche interest of woodworking that I have zero desire to watch them because they're producing content. They're not engaging, I
Hmm.
guess, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And that's where with my own social media stuff, I struggle because I'm like, I just have to do this to get this done. And I struggle with, should I pick up the camera? Should I not? Or should I just get it done? And but then at the same time,
Hmm.
I'm like, I should have something continually.
Yep, yeah. Yeah, well, in case anyone has any illusions, making videos about prop making is kind of hard. It's very time consuming. You have to do all the work of making a prop or a costume double. It takes twice as long to film and edit all of it. And when you're filming it, it's so easy to forget to film a part, and then later when you're editing, you can't film it again because that part of the thing is done. It's hard. It's hard. It's already hard enough just to make the videos, and making a living at it is even more challenging. Um, anything you can do to yourself to help that process be less tedious can be really good, but you're gonna make compromises. At some point, you're gonna make a compromise just to get the video done. And we do this all the time. There are so many things I wish I could do in my videos, little fun jokes, but it would make sometimes we'll film for a day for like 2 hours, but if we wanted to do a joke, it would take 4 hours. These really cool, neat things that we want to include in our artwork, just not in the cards sometimes. So it's hard. It's really hard to make the video and then also make it fun and entertaining. And like I said, everything in that finished product then ends up being a compromise, and it's really, really hard to deliver that information to the people who view it sometimes.
So this kind of begs the question then, like, have you ever been in the middle of the project and then just completely lost, start like, "Oh, yay!" and then get to the middle of it and you're just like, "This sucks," and completely lost motivation? How do you deal with that? I'm
Are
assuming that that has happened.
are you telling me that behind this wall there's a pile of unfinished projects and unpainted kits? Now, I'm very good at finishing things, so my pile of shame isn't that bad, but I'm here to tell you that it does exist. There are several folders of unfinished videos that we have that'll probably just never get done. I don't really tend to I mostly just focus on whatever the next project is, and I try and finish it. On the occasion where a project slips through the cracks, and this is I Jazza got diagnosed with ADHD, and just about every one of my close friends has. So I started to think a little bit that might have a little bit of that myself. As soon as I'm focused on another project, it is the only thing on my mind, and it is so easy for me to completely dismiss an unfinished project and just not even think about it for years because I have this new thing I'm just super focused on. So like
Yeah, no,
right
that's not an
now,
ADHD trait at all.
no, right now I'm building. There's an episode of Futurama where Bender sells his body and he's just a head. And there's one scene where his head is driving around in a little car. That's what I'm making. I'm making an animatronic Bender head in a little car, and I've been working on it since September. It's a long-term project. I have a whole series of videos on the build, but it's great because it's challenging. I've never done animatronics, so his eyes are going to blink and move. The mouth is going to be, I think, an LED panel that's animated. I have an 1/6 scale RC car that's the base, so it's a ton of problem solving, a lot of thinking, and my brain loves that, just chewing on that kind of problem solving. Because there's no one answer. There's no one best answer, but there are a lot of wrong answers. So it's fun to do those thought experiments, think about mechanical linkages and how his eyes are going to move. And then eventually I'll get to the point where I build it and test those theories, and then I tweak it, and that process, that back and forth, that stimulates my brain like nothing else. And if as long as I have a project like that to focus on, usually I can get it across the finish line. Usually doesn't take as long as this project does, but it's got a momentum, so I'll probably see it finished.
So on the sure, how would you define your business then? Would you say you're a content business?
Yeah,
That's
we're
your
a
business?
media production company for sure.
So I didn't look through your stuff with the intent of do they have a posting schedule or blah
Right.
blah blah. But with these projects like the Bender head that you said you've been working on since September, so that's multiple months. Do you have a schedule where you like, yeah, we got to get something out every week? Or do you just kind of like we get this done and get it out?
It used to be days gone by. We used to get a video out once a week, like without fail, and I think that was part of what helped grow our channel in like the late 2000 or 2010s. The pandemic really threw us for a loop. We stopped posting almost entirely, but have since slowly clawed our way back to a weekly schedule, a very loose, roughly weekly schedule. I think last year we posted 44 new videos. So almost every week we put out a new video, but it's not about having a schedule for Bender for that one project. I probably put a video out on him maybe once a month as we make progress on it. And then every other week we'll do a small shop project, or a month or two ago we had a sponsored video from a video game company that was had a new game coming out, so we built something from their game. So yeah, we try and do everything weekly. Right now it's kind of a mix of stuff. It's more about for us right now it's more about being a little more consistent with just making sure people know we're still around, sort of thing, than trying to do anything specific with what we post. At least for now. Like I said, I'm writing a new book, so when that new book comes out, a lot of our posting schedule and everything will be designed around getting the word out on that.
Right around that. So
Yeah.
then what's your approach then to balancing like you said you had the sponsored video game
Mhm.
one. So that's a deadline then I'm assuming,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like you had to have that done versus Bender, which apparently doesn't have a deadline.
No. Well, yeah, a
How do you
soft
balance
deadline.
that?
So I want him to be done by August so we can take him to Dragon Con. That's my long term deadline on that.
But if you
Yeah.
don't have any requirements for that, right? Like that's what I want, not what I have to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we'll basically like every week we'll say, well, what do you think we can get out this week? And if Bender is in a state where have something I've been working on and we could get a video out for that, we'll do it. He is not currently. I have some friends. I work along with the people over at Tested. Adam Savage is Tested. We got a new. I'm a contributor, and there's a handful of other contributors who have started a new YouTube channel for Tested called Tested Team. And we've been doing more collaborative stuff over there. So I'm going to have a conversation with some of my friends from Tested about my mechanical eyes because, like, Kate and Sean have worked at Phil Tippett's studio. They know a thing or two about model making and animatronics and that sort of thing. So we're gonna film our conversation, and that'll go up on the Tested Team channel. And then after that video goes out, I'll have a video about making Bender's eyes work for our channel. So that gets scheduled for after the conversation with Tested, and then this week and next week I'll have to have something else that I film that I haven't figured out yet.
So going back to the fact that you work with your wife, and do you run your business then like a business, and Monday morning at 9 o'clock we're going to sit down and have our scheduling plan for the week, or is it a more of a fluid
We used to do
situation?
it that way. When we had employees, we had a separate work space that we commuted to every day. That we used to do it that way, but now that it's the two of us, it's more of a day-to-day basis. Like we have a calendar, we know what's coming up, but sometimes we'll be waist deep in a project, so every day when we get up, we know that's what we're working on. We have a friend of ours in LA hired us to build something for a thing that I can't talk about. That'll be the next month or so. That'll be the project that's gets a little love every day that we work on it. So when we wake up, we know, okay, we'll be working on that today for sure. But if we're not being paid to do something and we just have to come up with a video idea on our own, we kind of do that on a week to week basis. Last week I had to do some vector art drawings for a separate project, and I thought, oh, I could turn this into a tutorial about drawing vector art. And that's the video we made like last week. So yeah, fluid. We're very fluid now. That's definitely our mode.
So you switched from corporate America. I mean, at that time Microsoft was the epitome of corporate
I know,
America, right?
right? Yeah.
So you switched from that to fun, making things with your hands. How did that affect your head? Like, were you at that, "Oh, I hate my life at Microsoft," and then jumped into, "Whee!" Or were you pretty happy, and now you're just happier?
Happy. It was a easy job that paid okay, and I was good at it. I was in a leadership position there, and I was considering if I wanted to advance further there, I would have had to go back for some sort of qualification. I didn't really have any on paper. I didn't really have any technical qualifications, so I was juggling the idea. Well, do I go to school, get some qualification, and be a company man, or do I, throw caution to the wind and try this other thing? And the other thing just sounded like a lot more fun than taking classes on IT or something useful. And I was 20, how old was I? 28 at the time, and I had a lot of encouragement from my spouse. So it didn't even really feel like a choice at the time. It just seemed like it would be an awful lot of fun for a while.
Seems like the logical next step. So it sounds like you're hooked into a lot of different communities here,
Hmm.
because obviously, I mean, Nicole is obviously hooked into lots of communities, but I would say by and large, it's probably woodworking.
Hmm.
But then she has all these other connections, and now, talking to you, you have connections with Tested, lots of other social media people, that type of thing. And how much is that those different communities affected where you are right now?
Hmm.
Has it been always beneficial, or do you find it a juggle to balance everything?
I think one of the things that really helped propel what we did, especially 10 or more years ago, was that uh, me and Brittany are both very happy to travel and meet people. I'm a social butterfly. And we did a lot of that early on. So I met Nicole through the Frog Pants network of podcasts. And that happened because I was a fan of the show. Scott did a show called The Instance, a World of Warcraft podcast. And I was a fan of the show, and they did a small event in Salt Lake City with just some friends every year. They called it Nerdtacular. And every year it got a little bigger and a little bigger. And one year they on the podcast, they said, no one ever takes photos at these events. We should have someone document Nerdtacular. It'll be really fun. And at the time, I was very into photography and I was considering being a wedding photographer. I shot a few weddings, which I never want to do again. But I know that now. And I emailed Scott and said, "Hey, my wife and I would love to fly out, meet everyone, and we'll document the event." And that was, I think that was 2010. And I met Nicole and Patrick and Scott and Kim and Tom Merritt, Veronica Belmont, Brian Ibbett. The whole posse was there, all the Frog Pants folks. And that was all outside of prop and cosplay. That's a completely different thing. And we made a ton of friends there. Like I said, Mark and Nicole are friends and mentors. And we found a lot of that inside the podcasting community. A lot of my friends in the prop and costume community, which is very separate, they're completely unaware of this whole other podcast world. And for me, a lot of the help I got with the business side of doing everything that we did, I got from my podcast. And then I've been able to sort of be a Sherpa for some of my friends in cosplay and help them out a bit too, which has been really cool. So yeah, the especially the business side, the making media for a living, making content or videos for a living, a lot of that I got from my friends in podcasting, and things would be very different if I didn't have that.
So, do you ever run down or get run down or start to get into that situation where you or have you in the past got into the situation where you're stressed out because obviously you're self-employed and now everything's
Yeah.
on your shoulders, and
Oh yeah. Yeah.
how
Well,
do you
the
deal with that?
years of therapy. That's how we were super stressed out just before the pandemic. We had moved, we hired people, we moved into a big studio. Everything got very expensive really fast. And so we were very stressed out by January of 2020, which was the worst time. And so we were in our shop for 2 years. We rented a shop for 3 years. And our second year, the pandemic hit. So that third year on our lease was kind of brutal. And we ended up at the end of that third year leaving, which was a huge relief because it was so expensive. But that time, especially during the pandemic, was chaotic and insane, and our business was struggling. That was a rough time. That was a super, super rough time. And there was a pandemic on, and everyone else was having a rough time too. However, that was when I started talking to a therapist, and things were really bad, but it pushed me to prioritize my mental health. Because when I was in a bad way, I wasn't really helpful to anyone, but let alone able to like film prop videos and be a fun, jolly man on camera. It's real hard and also there's a pandemic.
Yeah. Yep.
So
So
yeah, it became about reprioritizing a lot of things. The responsibility of all of that was just too much for me. With fewer employees, I actually have fewer responsibilities, which we found out was a better situation for me. And if I
that's
have
what a lot of
employees in the future, I'm going to hire someone else to manage them. I think that's how I'll solve that.
well, that's what a lot of people don't realize, like they get into something and oh, I want to turn this into my business, and then when you start bringing people on, as like I've had employees in the past, and it changes what you are doing and how you interact and your level of responsibility, because not only are you responsible for your mortgage, but you're really responsible for those other people's mortgages and their
Yeah,
food bills, and it becomes a burden. So it's almost like there's like an optimal level of I'm making enough money, and yeah, sure, I could expand this business and buy myself a private jet, but my goal isn't to manage people. My goal is to build props,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So what's a bad mental health day look like for you in the shop now then? Like then was very stressed and,
Yeah.
obviously worried about the world falling apart. What's
hmm
it look like now for you? Or do they
Uh,
not exist?
they exist. They definitely exist. Um, so in the heaviest parts of the pandemic, it was kind of interesting because I got to see a lot of the ways other people responded, my other YouTube friends, the way they responded. So, for example, my friend Adam Savage, the MythBuster, he has a channel called Tested, And when the pandemic hit, he responded by he went to his shop every day and he was self-soothing by making stuff, and he would just film it on his phone, and that's what he just buried himself in work. Going into the pandemic, I was already buried in work, so doing more was not really on the table. I actually pulled back. I appreciated watching Adam's videos because for him, it was self-soothing to get this stuff out there. At the time, I needed that. I needed to be a consumer. I needed to watch things that my friends were making that made me feel better. Now, I'm in a much better place, and when the world seems like it's going crazy, I want to be the guy that is putting out videos that are helping other people's day feel better. So when I have a day and I'm struggling to really want to do anything, I try and remind myself of that. Like, I'm not going to solve the world's problems, but someone will watch this video and it'll make their day slightly better. And not a lot of other people have opportunities to do that, but I do. So that's what gets me when I'm just like stressed out or strung out or tired and I just don't want to. I know it's tough. When I don't want to go to my basement to make toys, I remind myself that someone out there is going to see that video and it's going to make their day. And that helps motivate me to get back down to the shop.
That goes back to that sense of community, I guess, too,
Hmm.
right? Like there's an emerging science or a kind of an emerging everybody knows physical health is important, right? Like
Right.
you feel better when you're not sick. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
And people are starting to understand mental health too to the same extent. What isn't quite as understood now or hasn't been as well understood is social health.
Hmm.
And there's isolation, just not being connected to people is almost as bad for you as smoking, you know?
Wow. Yeah. I believe that.
So it's surprising that and I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head right now, but it's like massive 40% people who are socially isolated are 40% more likely to die of all
Mm.
cause mortality, right? So that's not a oh yeah, they're a little bit. It's huge.
Yeah.
And
And
so
we got a
this
lot of that during the pandemic.
yeah, and there's been a massive amount of research since the pandemic about that because of and this is we go off all sorts of rails of like whether the response was the appropriate response in the long
Hmm.
term or not. But how do you find that balance for you though? Like sounds like you're pretty busy with trying to keep your business going
Uh-huh.
and you can definitely get sucked into that and be socially isolated, especially when
Hmm.
your significant other is your only other contact in life.
Yeah. It can be
How do you
very
balance
easy.
community in that?
Yeah, it can be really easy for us to we live and work out of the same house, and there are weeks that go by where we just don't leave. I'm really social. We have a lot of local friends. Fortunately, too, I have a lot of local friends who reach out. We just had some friends over this weekend, some of our pals from college, and they're awesome, always awesome about setting up days, barbecues, that sort of thing. Another thing, piece of advice that I got from my therapist that was really, really good. We were talking about the concerns with the world and feeling helpless. I have a bit bigger of a megaphone than most people, and I know that I can say things on the internet that move the needle. So I feel compelled to want to try and fix stuff, but I'm not a political scientist or an economics guy. I'm a prop maker from Oswego, New York. The bar is pretty low for me. So the things that help me, I can make videos that help other people feel better which helps me. But also, if I'm feeling helpless, the advice I got from my therapist was that, well, you should try and be more involved what's going on with your neighbors. That's all. Just the people that live near you. Just be more involved. Say hi when you're out for a walk. Just wave. Learn their names. Like I have neighbors that live 3 doors away from me. I don't know their names. uh, she just said, "Get to know the people that live near you." That's really it. Say hi when you're walking by. If they need help with something, offer help. But that's what I've been trying to do on a daily basis. Brittany and I will go for a walk every day, which also, if you're not feeling great for any reason, go for a walk and drink water. Those are the two things I do first. So going for a walk every day really, really helps. And then when I see my neighbors, I say hi, I wave, we share names. It just that little bit helps remind you that you're not isolated and alone. There were times during the pandemic where I was in my house and it felt like we were in a spaceship in the middle of the void of space and there was no one around us. That wasn't the case, but it was really easy to feel like that, right? So just even just going out and waving at your neighbors helps you feel less isolated. It's really good.
Yeah, I was just thinking, just going back to your you have a larger megaphone comment
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
but I think it's really important for we're having an election here in Canada currently.
I've heard about it.
Yeah, and it's I think North America for sure. I'm not invested in the rest of the world's politics, but it seems like it's all going this way. We're becoming very stratified
Sure. Yeah.
in our political beliefs, and people they get this you agree with me or you're my enemy mentality,
Right, right.
and I think it's perpetuated. I've been preaching this offline locally. People who start to vote strategically, right?
Mhm.
Because we don't want said person to get in, so we're going to vote. I don't necessarily agree with these people, but they're the best chance to make sure this other person doesn't get in.
Mhm.
I think that creates the it creates a false mandate for the people who get voted for because they believe that they have a much stronger support than they actually
Right.
do,
Yeah.
and it creates the problem.
Mhm.
And so to bring it back to our conversation here, you and I we're not the same people, right? Like we're not exactly the same. I think what you're doing with props is really cool, and you make some very interesting stuff, and I'm very impressed, but I have zero desire to do it myself.
Yep.
And and I'm sure that if we got into politics or religion or whatever, we'd probably find some room to disagree.
Yeah, sure.
But the reality of it is I'm not a Nazi and you're probably not a other end of the spectrum
Sure. Yeah.
communist or
And it
whatever.
and such is the case for pretty much everyone, right? Pretty much.
Exactly.
There are some
Exactly.
outliers.
There are
Yeah, but that's not what we get told on the news, right?
yeah, and so I think it's very important for everybody, like, "Oh, what can I do? I'm just a prop maker."
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm just a furniture maker, or I'm just a farmer, or I'm just a logger, I'm just a whatever, joining into the conversation and saying their piece and not just parroting
Yeah.
parroting the party line is what
Mhm.
creates I think is what creates that community too, because all of the people that you have met through your communities, they're not all the same as you. And yet you
True,
have
yeah.
these connections all throughout the
Mhm.
world that support you when you need the support, and when they need support, you in turn can support them,
Mhm.
even though you're not an expert in all things. You can still be a support and still have a valid opinion.
Yeah, it's true. You bet. And I'll tell you what, if you got neighbors that you've never talked to and you start just having conversations with them, um, unless they're a nut, because 'cause they're out there, uh, I bet politics doesn't even come up. I bet if you just go chat with your neighbors about something they're working on, if they're working on a project in their front yard, start chatting about that, it's gonna be the last thing that comes up. People don't wanna talk about this stuff. People wanna talk about their daily lives. They wanna talk about the things they're making, the things they're excited about. And if you start chatting with the elderly neighbor that you've never talked to before, like, there's a guy I gotta reach out to him. I haven't seen him in a while. I'm getting into bird watching. I got binoculars, I got my camera. Well, there's this guy, and every once in a while, I see him out there with his binoculars, and I'll stop my car and we'll talk about birds for a second. But our entire relationship could be conversations about birds. How amazing would that be? That would be great. That is an extraordinary foundation for a relationship with your neighbor. And I wouldn't know it if I hadn't stopped or paid attention or see him out there chasing we had some falcons in our neighborhood a couple summers ago. It was very exciting.
But I think kind of to sum up the political part of it too, though, is once you've established those relationships and politics does come up,
Mhm.
and it turns out that that your bird watching neighbor is a Nazi and you're not, then Nazi goes, "Oh, well, maybe that guy isn't so bad. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe my thought process is wrong."
Mhm.
And conversely, maybe you're the Nazi and I'm offending you secretly here, but the reality of it is 99.999% of the people out there think they're right.
Mhm.
They think they're good people, and they are.
It's
But
true.
if we argue with them about it, then all we do is reinforce the negatives instead of
Mhm. Yeah.
reinforce the fact that, you know, you and I are two people that just want to enjoy our lives, and maybe we have some different opinions about stuff, and that's okay.
Mhm. It is okay.
Anyway, on that bombshell,
Mhm.
maybe we should head over to the after show here. Why don't you promote everything that you can promote,
Absolutely.
and then we'll head over to the after show for a few minutes.
That sounds great. Thank you for having the chat. This has been awesome. Everything that we do is over at punishprops.com. We got links to all our YouTube videos over there, the books we sell, those video courses and everything. You can follow us on YouTube, probably the best place for it. Again, Punish Props Academy is the name of the channel over there. And then Twitter and Instagram and all those, like you do. And Blue Sky. I'm sorry, I'm on Blue Sky now, and not Threads, but I need a list now, right? Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, all of them. TikTok.
Yeah, that's the reality of social media these days
Yeah.
is I interact my community is on Instagram. My market is on YouTube
Mhm.
and TikTok, but and Facebook is where my enemies all reside.
That's amazing. So follow me
But
in any of one of those of incredible places.
yeah. Well, let's head over to the after show and we'll wrap up and tell all the secret details that,
Mhm.
inspire people to sign up for Patreon.
Very good.